Hey, what's up, everyone? This is Jason Tucker, and this is WPwatercooler's WPblab, episode number 108. Today's topic is marketing your WordPress business with loss leaders. And we're going to be talking with a really awesome guy, James, in just a minute. Before we do that, we like to be rude and introduce ourselves. Bridget, tell us about yourself.
Oh, brother, I am a single woman living in Dana Point. Oh, no, it's not AOL. So anyway, my name is Bridget Willard. I'm a marketing consultant. I have room for 2 monthly clients. I also do consulting. I'm the marketing team rep, one of 7 now for Make WordPress. And I will be speaking at WordCamp Nijmegen in August. You can find out more at bridgetwillard.com.
Check you out with the proper pronunciations and all that stuff.
Oh, Yvette Sonnefeld did a lot of coaching to get me to be able to say that properly. The rest of Dutch will elude me, and my Dutch friends will be happy that I never pronounced any words. Serbian, I got it. Dutch, not so much.
Oh, Dutch, not so much. That's your tagline for this week. I'm Jason Tucker. You can find me over at Jason Tucker on Twitter. My website is jasontucker.blog, and I do this show, WPblab, and I also do another show called WPwatercooler. WPwatercooler, if you don't know, is one of these shows that you can just literally just hop on. You have to tell us you're showing up, so we can at least scooch a little section out of the way from the water cooler there. But we go live at 11 o'clock a.m. Pacific. And if you go over to WPwatercooler.com and then click on the links there to figure out how to sign up for one of the particular episodes, you can do that. That's my advertisement for today. So
also you're accepting sponsors.
Definitely accepting sponsors.
If you go to tell people that the podcast is available on iHeartRadio.com.
Oh my gosh, we're on everything now. We're on Spotify, we're on Stitcher.
Like I actually use that to listen to talk radio.
Isn't that crazy?
I'm like, wow. Like to me, that's bigger than iTunes. Everybody can get on iTunes. iHeartRadio is hard.
It's awesome.
Also Spotify, is that correct?
Spotify, yeah, we're on Spotify. Just do a search. So while you're listening to some song, you can just go and add it to a playlist, and you can just listen to this episode on a playlist. It's pretty neat.
Yeah. Level up your business.
All right, we've been rude. James. James Laws, tell us a bit about yourself.
Yeah, so my name is James Laws. I am the co-founder and CEO of a company called Saturday Drive, which is the parent company of several other little businesses that most people will know. Ninja Forms is our main one, but we've just recently acquired Exchange WP and have rebranded it to Ninja Shop, and we are working on that one. We also own a coffee shop here in Cleveland, Tennessee. It's a local coffee roaster, direct trade coffee, and so we do that. So we got a lot of things like that going on. I am also the co-host of a podcast called Adventures in Businessing, where I get together with 2 of my business partners and another local entrepreneur, and we just talk shop. We try to do that once a week, although we don't always make it. I am also on another podcast called Save Me White Jesus. It's controversial. Look at it at your own risk. Yeah, so that's a little bit about me.
Saturday Drive, the parent company of the Ninjas. That's right. Interesting.
Yeah.
As opposed to a Sunday Drive. What do you want to talk a little bit about the naming?
Absolutely. So the company got named. We were looking for a name that made sense to connect Kevin Stover, my business partner, and I together. And before business, we were both pastoring a church, and we would do a lot of our sermon prep on Saturdays, and we would get in a car and literally just drive around. Then when we started to get into business, it seemed that we found that same pattern taking place. Saturdays, we'd get in the car, we'd drive around and shoot ideas around and just dream and kind of have vision for what we wanted to build. So that when we needed a parent company and it wasn't going to be specifically WordPress specific, Saturday Drive just became the natural title for it.
I love that. Now you're going to have to update your Twitter bio.
I know, I do. It's true. It's true. There's just not enough characters for me to put all that I have to say in that anyway.
This is true. You only have 160. Make them count.
Record a video. Put a link on there. Done.
I should. There we go. This is the elevator pitch.
So there's been a lot of mergers and acquisitions. There's been a lot of talking about how to market your business. Of course, as a marketing consultant, I spend a lot of time on Twitter reading people's tweets, and I say, hey, what do you need? I'm doing my own pitch, right? What kind of marketing help do you need? And I keep getting the answer, marketing. And so, like, as Jason Tucker and I have been doing this show over the last couple of years or more, it'll be 3 years in December, actually. In October, it'll be 3 years.
Wow.
And so we've merged it into more of a high level strategic and tactical marketing approach for our friends who have WordPress businesses or developers, freelancers, and that sort of thing. And so one of the things we were talking about is the idea of changing your pricing in order to market your business. And that's when I came up with the loss leader. So for people that don't really know what a loss leader is, so let's take Ford, for example. The EPA wants your fleet to have an average miles per gallon. And what really sells for Ford are their trucks. And their trucks do not have a good MPG. So they build Fiestas. And the first new car I ever bought was a 2013 Ford Fiesta for $13,000. They spit those out like there's no tomorrow. And Fiestas are Ford's loss leader, meaning they literally lose money on the car. They make zero profit on it. But the reason why they have it is to get you in the store, right? Because they know that you'll upgrade, or they think. I traded in for Honda. So it didn't work on me because I knew what was happening. I go, this thing's a piece of crap. It's going to die in 3 years because it doesn't matter. Because the only reason why they're mass producing them is to janky with their numbers for the EPA, right? So a lot of times you'll see in advertisements, this one car or a hotel, this one hotel room is discounted or whatever like that. So the loss leader means it's something that you're giving away for free or something that's heavily discounted in order to get you in the door, because it's easier to keep a customer than keep getting new ones. Right. So we thought, actually WordPress does this, and it does it very well. Free plugins on the .org that end up having extensions or add-ons, et cetera, et cetera. And so when Jason and I thought, let's talk about this, we knew you were a perfect fit. We had some scheduling issues because I had issues and whatever. And Jason went to a concert, but hey, we're here now. And I feel like this
priorities, man. We got priorities.
Priorities.
All right?
Got a concert.
Oh my gosh, they went to go see the Jared Leto people, and that's really important. Something about Mars or being from the sun. I don't know. I just know that Jennifer Tucker likes Jared Leto, and that's all that matters. So, what is the name of that band?
30 Seconds to Mars.
Oh, 30 Seconds to Mars. Okay, I knew Mars or the solar system was involved. Anyway, so
you got in the hemisphere. It's okay.
Yep. And he looks like Jesus too, so it totally relates.
But now originally people built a plugin, they put it in the repo. That was all that they wanted to happen. They're like, I built this thing. Like Jason Tucker always says, I built this thing. Here it is. It's super cool. And then all of a sudden people realize I could do this, and then I could have add-ons. And then now people are kind of going SaaS-ish. Mm-hmm. But the thing is, you get a lot of site traffic from WordPress.org. So can you talk a little bit about the strategy of being in the plugin directory or the theme, or having your plugin or theme free, and then how that kind of comes back to you while you're building a brand new?
Sure. And I to prove kind of how important it is for us to utilize that kind of what we would call the freemium distribution model, right? To get the product in as many people's hands as possible. When iThemes had Exchange, they had a free version, and then they had add-ons. When it transitioned over to Exchange WP, it got pulled from the repo, and it was only premium. And now back in our hands, we've released a free version again. We've turned right around and put a free version out there, because that distribution model, especially when you're in a crowded space, right, where let's be honest, if you're speaking e-commerce, it's WooCommerce and WordPress, that they are synonymous. There is no other solution. And even though there are some other good solutions, depending on what you're trying to do, the term is WooCommerce. That's all that everyone kind of gravitates towards. So we're not going to win playing, and of course they have a free version too, but we're not going to win just going premium. Now that is a model. We could go that route and just pick a specific niche in that space that we wanted to go after. But we also, on the flip side of that, while we love it as a distribution model, we also like giving back. We do appreciate the WordPress community. We wouldn't have the business that we have today if it wasn't for that community. And so if we can put something out there that's free, that's useful, that's just a win-win. And so that kind of goes to building our reputation and our brand, is making sure that we're always putting out there quality products in the repo that people can use. And we have tons of products out there. Some of them are not things that we're trying to monetize, but we always try to put things out there that people can use. Free is just a huge, powerful tool. I mean, I don't think we still are not at a space where people are properly utilizing free in the WordPress space. There are some people who are doing really, really well at it. There's some people who are doing some shady kind of the way they do it, and that it's, if you've ever installed a plugin on WordPress.org and every time you click on something, it's an ad like, oh, you can't do that. You can't do that.
We have never seen that.
like that stuff is awful. But the idea, the premise behind that is true and powerful. And that is, if you have a free product and people are using it and they like it, why not market the things that you have available in the product, in the application? And that's not being done very well across the WordPress space. It's either done, like I said, very poorly or not at all. And so we're trying to play around with, how do we do it tastefully? How does it make it very clear that this thing is a premium and a separate thing, but we want you to become aware of it in the application? So playing around with that is a real powerful tool. When you get to Ninja Form size, where you have, I guess we're somewhere around 1.2 or 1.3 million, active installs, that's a lot of eyeballs to see what you offer. And even if we convert just a fraction of those, you have an extremely sustainable business. And so there's a lot of WordPress products even now that are in huge distribution, huge, like 2,000, 200,000 active installs, who have yet to properly monetize their free plugin. And by that, I mean, it's not enough just to have a website where you sell something. You have a free product that people are using. If the only way you're monetizing it is in the README, so that it shows up on WordPress.org or on a website through your social accounts, you're doing it wrong. And that's a struggle.
Does anybody read the README?
Yeah, right.
I do.
So I browse it. Like
I've never read a README. I'm not a developer. I'm an implementer, right?
I don't read it. I don't read it like I read a book.
No, I'm the end user. We don't know to read README files.
Well, the difference, all right, so let me rephrase what I said. The README in a plugin, when you write out a description and an introduction and all that stuff, that becomes the plugin screen text that is
you mean that's
in WordPress.org in the directory.
Okay. Well,
so
there you go.
Yeah. So, but if you're only putting the link there, you're still missing huge opportunity, right? Because that's again, just like you, a fraction of the people actually read that in detail. Honestly, when I go to WordPress.org, I'm looking at a few things. I'm looking at number of sites it's installed on, because I want to kind of get a feel of how many other people have found this useful. I'm looking at the developers behind it, and do I know them? Because if I do, that's an easy win right there. And for me, because design is such an important thing, I look at the UI. So do they have screenshots? And when I look at the screenshots, do I get a feeling that this tool is going to do what I want it to do? Then I install it and try it. Like, I don't go through the whole process of reading every little line and feature inside of that document. So if you're putting only your links there to your website, you're missing a huge opportunity, because it's in the application where I am that I need to know that you have something that I need or that I want.
So how do you make that plugin, especially when you're talking about an e-commerce type plugin, how do you make that compete with the quote unquote the big guys of the industry there? How do you approach that? Because I mean, that's free. Like, You could literally sell something using WooCommerce for free.
Yeah. You know, there's a secret to this, and it's a really simple secret. You just do it. And I know this sounds stupid, but there is enough people who just do not like WooCommerce for whatever reason, right? They don't like that it's heavy. They don't like maybe that it's going to cost them $1,500 to do anything. There's a number of people who don't like it. And it's not that WooCommerce is a bad product. It's actually a phenomenal product. It is an excellent product, but it's not for everyone.
Yeah, and you're not going to bring your giant purse to a wedding, right? So like that's why WordPress made a quick checkout, because some people only have one product.
Yeah.
You don't need the whole store.
So our pricing plans for Ninja Shop, which we haven't like shared this out publicly yet, but this will be a first. This is a WPblab exclusive.
Right. So tell us what Ninja Shop is, though.
So Ninja Shop is
not a swag store.
It is a simple e-commerce solution.
Oh, I thought it was a swag store for Ninja.
For Ninja, yeah, because all anyone knows is Ninja Forms, right?
It was what was known as Exchange before, right?
It's iTunes Exchange, then Exchange WP, and now it is a Ninja Shop.
So it's an e-commerce plugin.
It is an e-commerce. It is, if for lack of a better term, it is a direct competitor to WooCommerce. And the truth is, will it do everything that WooCommerce does? Well, it would take us a very long time to get there. So no, it will not, but it doesn't need to, right? And I don't need to take 50% of the market to be successful, because the WooCommerce market is huge. A sliver of that market will create a sustainable and a healthy product. But to your point about what people need, we actually garnered our pricing memberships based on just what you said. So our first pricing is called Startup. That's all it is. It's a startup. I'm just selling. I don't know what maybe I'm selling a thing. The next one is a boutique. I have a variety of things. Maybe it's a little bit more complicated. Our highest tier is small business. Like, it's not enterprise.
Right.
It's not like the huge thing. No, it's just small business. It's for my coffee shop. It's what my coffee shop would use to do a coffee of the month club, or to sell green coffee or something like that. So yeah. So anyway.
Because like getting that Etsy crowd is.
It is.
I mean, we're getting off topic a tiny bit, because now we're talking e-commerce. Like my mom used to do Etsy, and then they did some janky stuff with their payment gateway, and she left, and now she has no solution. Like I don't really want to build a website for her, but like, especially because WooCommerce, but like if it's super light.
Yeah, like right now, it depends on what you need to do, right? Like right now, the free Ninja Shop plugin, you can create a product. You can hook it up to PayPal with just this email address if you want to do as simple as that, and people can buy your product and you're done. Like, you don't have to do anything else. It's there. You can collect an address. You can ship it to them if you want. It can be digital. Like, that's all in the free, just really bare bones basic. Where we get into stuff where we start charging is into like higher level membership stuff, or more e-commerce salesy type tools that you might need. But for the basic person who just needs to sell something, it does that.
Do you have something for the tax thing?
We are working on that. So we have obviously some simple text stuff, but the simple text stuff doesn't work for anyone, because even for us currently, in the current climate where we only have to collect sales tax for people who reside in Tennessee, that's still more complicated than most people's tax solutions. So it's on our roadmap to quickly for launch to connect with something like Taxamo or something like that. So that, so there's a few.
TaxJar is pretty favorited over here.
Which one?
TaxJar.
TaxJar. Yeah.
So that's why I got confused, because you were talking about, you had picked all these colors.
Well, he started talking about coffee, and then after that we were like, what? Wait. WordPress? We're talking about WordPress still, right? Okay.
But here's the thing: it's the diversification, and like for those playing at home, this is what I'm reading into it. So you do the freemium, you're giving away a form, okay? And then all of a sudden you have these customers. Now you start building your brand based upon brand awareness. Now they trust the brand. Now you start doing an e-commerce thing. Well, I like I like Ninja Forms, so why wouldn't I use Ninja Shop? And they all go together. Plus, I like those guys in Cleveland, Tennessee, so it's a win-win-win. So that's like kind of where I wanted the conversation to go anyway. So I was really glad that you did it that way. Because to me, the part that our friends in WordPress don't understand is the value of building a brand. You get your foot in the door to get the trust, and then you start bringing in prices and other options, and now they trust you, and you're gonna keep that customer.
Oh, absolutely. And as a shout out to Pippin Williamson and his team over at Sandhills Development, right? They've done an amazing job with that. And what they've done is they've created a suite of tools for their core customer. And so back before Restrict Content Pro was doing all its stuff and it gotten revived, it was kind of sitting in the back burner, and EDD was the thing. So easy digital downloads, and it's grown and it's doing really well, and it's an awesome tool. So then they jump out with Affiliate WP. Well, who needs affiliates? People who own stores, right?
Right.
People are selling products. They need affiliates. So they have affiliate. And let's be honest, most of the affiliate solutions were terrible. And so they created a really elegant solution for their customers. Then reviving Restrict Content Pro to create that membership element, they did just a beautiful job of saying, you trust us here. Why wouldn't you trust us over here? And that is the part of establishing a brand. And we wanted to do the same thing. We, as Ninja Forms, get tons of people who try to do crazy things with forms. And I love them, and it's super interesting to see what they try to do. But let's be honest, forms are awesome, but they are like a Swiss Army knife, right? They do a lot of little things well, but when you try to take it too far, you go too far. So can you accept donations with forms? Sure. But at some level, you should probably just use Give WP, right? Like at some point you should switch over and
using donations.
Yeah. If you're going to do something where you're wanting to do that, you should probably do that. If you're wanting to sell a product, can you do that with a form? Absolutely. But at some level, you should probably switch to e-commerce. That's a better tool. We were getting a lot of that. So it just made sense for us to transition to e-commerce. And we've been doing e-commerce for years. It's not like we haven't learned a thing or two about how to run e-commerce.
Exactly. So like just getting in there with the one thing, being successful, building a customer base, that's like your foot in the door. Lost leader is your foot in the door. And a lot of times, even though we do want to give back, we're all altruistic here. Everybody on this call donates a lot of billable hours to WordPress and time and money. Okay. So nobody's not supporting WordPress as a community, hosting meetups, et cetera, blah, blah, blah. But from a business standpoint, sometimes you have to know like that you're making this decision that will pay off in 2 to 3 years.
Absolutely.
Would you be willing to say what kind of timeline before you're comfortable with? I know that you had mentioned it at AWP at one meetup that I went to, but like that diversification of how you changed your pricing. Like when is that a good time? Like it's not, is it time dependent? Is it revenue dependent? Is it product development dependent? Is it all of the above?
I think it's probably a little bit of all of the above and a little bit of gut, right? Like, I think you have to watch how your product is doing, how people are receiving your product, and then you start to make decisions on that. We've gone through various changes in our product, and that's some of what I shared, right? When we first started, we were premium only. Ninja Forms was a premium only product, and it was like $19. Like, it was dirt cheap, and it did conditional logic and multi-part forms and all the stuff you expect a form builder to do. Super cheap, but it wasn't sustainable by any stretch of the imagination. 6 months later, we raised the price to $29, and we released a free version with a pro upgrade. And for a year, we didn't do anything with that. We were rebuilding, we were rethinking about how the architecture worked. And then it wasn't until 2013 that we said, all right, what if we did add-ons? And that was, partially it was because of Pippin, because I was buying EDD to sell Ninja Forms, and I was adding all these add-ons to my cart, and I was like, man, that would work for forms, because most of the people who talk to us say they only need this feature. They don't need everything. So I was like, so I went to my partner and I said, what if we did that? And he says, easy enough. I was making it modular anyway. I'll just pull them out as completely separate modules. So we did that. And then our business just blew up. It just all of a sudden, our sales that first month was greater than any month we had had prior. The next month was double, and then double, and then double. And it just kept happening. And we were like, I don't know what's going on. And honestly, we got a little lucky because we weren't afraid to experiment. And we trusted our gut to say, this isn't the right way. We can't keep going this way. We've got nothing to lose to experiment with something else. Let's throw it out there. But then when it comes to something like Ninja Shop, we have this, we've acquired this product. We have to spend development time to kind of get it up to speed. We had to add a bunch of GDPR features to get it ready because we couldn't even put it back out there without that. So we got that stuff in place. There's still a lot of bugs and little tweaks from add-ons and stuff that we have to get working. And the question is, how long do you keep working on it? And how much money does it have to make and when before you shut that thing down and say, this didn't work out? I think we're lucky enough that we have a really long runway because this investment is totally a time investment on our part. I have a couple developers, one who's working part-time on it and one who's working full-time. And honestly, in my mind, if I can get it to pay for one of their salaries by the end of the year, then we could go forever. Like we can keep, huge one. Yeah, we can build that up. And that's a bigger decision to me as a business owner. I'm not always looking at, what is the $2 million product, the $3 million. I have a team of people who we work locally all in the same office. Right. And so I'm saying, who can I provide a job?
Right.
If I build this product and can keep it healthy and people love it, and this will give this person a job and health insurance and all of these things, right? Like that's a win. Wait, I don't necessarily need that product to do any better than that. What was that?
Wait, you have health insurance? I'm moving to Tennessee. No, but so the thing is, like, most businesses, standard advice is 3 years.
Yeah.
People, you open a McDonald's, it's 3 years.
Yeah.
You open a Minuteman Press, it's 3 years. It's all 3 years. So anything that's, going faster than that is huge, you know? So, like, do you have any advice for, like, the new guy? Let's talk about the new generation of plugin developers. They're building Gutenberg blocks.
Yeah.
What's something?
Gutenberg.
Of course I did. Like that's what's happening. We're up to date around here. I know it's a drinking game, right? It's not robust anymore. It's coffee. So, but the thing is, it's like that is the new generation of WordPress developers.
Yeah.
That's going to be the new generation of WordPress plugins. The people who build these blocks. Do you have any kind of like, okay, you're new. This is an exciting opportunity for you. If I were me, knowing what I know now.
Yeah.
I wish that you would do these 3 things.
That's tough. What I would say is Gutenberg actually is a huge opportunity, right? For developers who are kind of watching what's going down. There are so many plugins that are resistant to Gutenberg at this point that it's actually amazing to me how bad it is. One of my developers did a talk at our meetup, which was phenomenal.
I didn't say it, just for the record. I just want that on the record. Okay, I'm sorry, but like I'm big all the alarmist, so whatever, continue. One of your developers.
One of my developers did a WordPress talk at our meetup, and I loved his introduction. He talked about because he had heard so much talk when we went to one of the WordCamps we went to. He heard so many developers going, "I'm really nervous about all this JavaScript stuff, all this JavaScript. And this talk about, oh, they're just WordPress developers." And so he goes, his talk was, stop calling yourself a WordPress developer. You are a developer. And he says, and then he said this, and this was interesting. You are a WordPress developer, which means normal developers get to control the environment that they're building on. WordPress developers get all of these advantages that WordPress developers don't get. You are the top of the top. You have to deal with every conflict known to man. You have to deal with wrong versions of PHP, MySQL, JavaScript errors, hundreds of plugins, different kinds of themes, old versions of WordPress. You have to deal and handle with so many things. You should be proud at being a WordPress developer and how many hoops you're able to jump through to make a working product that people want to give you money for. That is an amazing thing. So stop getting out of this mindset.
Locker room speak.
Yeah, right. It was really good. I told him, I said, you need to. I told him, I was like, you need to develop that, and we need to send you to WordCamp US or something. Like that was a phenomenal thing. And it's so true. Like when he said it, I was like, I almost got chills a little bit. I was like, that is it. Like that's what we have to get ourselves in the mindset. And so with Gutenberg, there's this huge opportunity. There are all these things that we have built, 45,000 plugins or something, right? That are out there that are no longer going to work. And some of them are huge plugins, and the developers don't want to take the time to build their features for Gutenberg. That is what an opportunity to swoop in and build that feature for Gutenberg and own that market. And so I think there's some interesting things here that can be done.
I love you.
You're gonna totally beat WooCommerce. It's gonna be awesome.
You're like my favorite person on the planet right now, James. I've been saying this for a year, and I just love somebody else saying it. It's a great opportunity, because the sad thing is I spent a year trying to convince people.
Yeah.
So the new people. So the first thing is take advantage of the opportunity, believe in yourself because you do have the skill set. And what is the third piece of advice you would offer these new generation of plugin developers?
I will say this because my inbox is open. Reach out to people who have gone before you and pick their brains like crazy. I will rarely turn down an opportunity to talk to somebody if somebody wants to ask questions and pick my brain about what our story was and how we did it and what it looked like and what are the challenges that we're facing today as we've scaled, or what were the challenges we faced when we were small. Find those people. Then there's a ton of them, and let's be honest, there is generally not a more generous community than the WordPress community. And so I'm not the only one who has an open inbox who will say, yeah, let's jump on a call. I'll give you 30 minutes. Let's talk about it. And if you want, we'll follow up and see where you're at in a few months, and we'll keep doing that. There's lots of people who will do that. Now, and if you want to get like the really fancy people, you may have to get on a clarity call, but they're worth that. Get on that call. And even those people who do the clarity calls and things like that, it's not that they won't talk to you any other time. Go to a WordCamp, pull them aside, ask them if you can ask them some questions, and you can learn. There's no reason to learn lessons the hard way, like by failing yourself. Failure is a great teacher, don't get me wrong, but I'd rather learn from someone else's failure than my failure if I can help it. So if I can gain some of that wisdom and some of that knowledge, I highly encourage that. So I would definitely say reach out. There's plenty of people who want to talk to you and are willing to talk to you and help you along.
Yeah, I mean, that's the open source community. That's the WordPress community. I mean, the WordPress community is all about making sure that you're, forking experiences, if anything.
Yeah, absolutely.
kind of looking at that and going, I would love to see, how do I go the same path that you're going here? And when can I make that merge happen?
Yep.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah. I've had a lot of those, and I've had a lot of those conversations where people reach out to me, and they're a lot of fun for me too, because here's the thing that I think we miss if you're early on. I can learn stuff from you too.
Right.
Because as I get older, I become less open to, or not even less open. I am unaware of certain trends that you may be aware of as a younger individual in the space. And that's just the nature of getting older. And we do all the things we can, right, to keep ourselves youthful and to keep ourselves connected. But, I sit on a podcast with another gentleman who throws out phrases, and I'm like, I don't know what that means. I've never heard that before in my life. I feel like I need a dictionary for every word that comes out of your mouth sometimes. And that's true in business, and that's true in development. And, so you're going to offer, in many cases, you may not offer just as much, but you're going to offer something. I'm going to glean from that conversation as well. So
what I'm hearing is we should be lifelong learners from each other.
Absolutely.
Old and young, new and seasoned, developer and marketer. Like, there's so much that we can learn from each other if we open our eyes to see what the choices are, And one of the things that kind of fuels me as a passion is, job costing, because I spent a lot of time in construction accounting. But like that comes with the marketing too in the WordPress space, right? So Jason and I spent a lot of time, You know, and for a long time, I was like that coach. And Jason's like, I'm not a marketer, but you are. Like, you know, and I'm like, I'm not a writer. He goes, but you are. You know, so like it's that teaming up with people who you can trust, who will show you the things that you are good at. You know, and I think that that's one of the things that we, you know, kind of forget. And then, but there is a resistance to making money or charging money in the WordPress space for some reason.
There is.
And even like we've had this conversation about hosting companies, and they're like, well, $25 a month's a lot. And we talked about this with the women who WP a couple weeks ago. They're like, $20 a month is a lot. I go, are you kidding? I spend more on tequila. Let's be serious.
Should we talk about your tequila problem?
No, it's like, no, because you know what I realized, like, just as an aside, I didn't know because I didn't start drinking till last year. I didn't know that 1 ounce of tequila is equivalent alcohol to a beer, 12 ounces of beer. I don't like beer.
So you were doing 12 ounces of tequila at a sitting?
And I will say, no, like
on episode 750, we'll talk about this.
But I'm saying, like, actually, WordCamps are the places that taught me to go to bars. I never went to bars until I went to after parties. That's the truth. But the thing is, like, but seriously, so I sip good tequila and it's $9.50 a shot.
Yeah.
So if I go out tonight, I'm gonna spend $20 on that's what I'm saying, and I can't spend $20 on my business.
Right.
So that's what I'm saying. There's this weird, you know, when you go to work for somebody, they think that $7 an hour is right, and their brain is stuck in 1993.
Mm-hmm. Sure do.
There's that weird like disconnect with what things should cost.
Right.
So when we were talking about pricing, you know, you said you hit that, and it's funny because when I was in the music business, they would say charge for a concert because if it's free, they won't come. If it's $10, they will. And that's the whole reason why the burn camps are $40, is they didn't want it to be free, but they wanted it to be a price point where somebody would commit. And with how you brought the 19 versus 29, it's a funny thing that when you broke it out and charged more, you got more business. Can you talk a little bit like about the brainstorming process of determining your pricing?
Yeah, so this is an interesting thing. So a lot of times pricing is subjective, right? It's a little bit of gut. You kind of say, what would I be willing to pay for? What are people paying for similar things that are related in some way? So in a lot of ways, it can be a little bit of a guessing game. Well, the interesting thing that we discovered was when we went from 19 to 29, we didn't see a big change in our sales. When we went to 29 to, I think at that time was 7 times as expensive, because our add-ons all each cost $29 or more individually. So what we were selling for $29 all in, we now started selling for $29 a piece times 7 if you wanted it all. So, and then our sales just blew up. It's just like people started throwing money at the product and got involved in it. And this is the other secret that I think is really important for business owners to know. The more money people spend on your product, the less of a burden and a support cost they are to you.
Yeah, I can see that.
Consider this. We sell our agency membership at $4.99. It comes with everything that we have, which you can assume you're going to find conflicts when you have 40 different add-ons connecting to a core plugin. You're like, that's a lot to juggle. We see by percentage, even factoring in that probably our $4.99 customers are fewer than all of our other customers. Even after you average that, our agency members, what we call our agency member customers for Ninja Forms, are almost none of our support. Like they don't, because for whatever reason, it's a psychological thing. Maybe it's because they have more developers on hand who can problem solve a little bit better before they get to support. I'm not exactly sure what the psychological factor is there, but I've noticed that as we've increased our prices, our support burdens have decreased.
Better customers. Is it we don't want to do the $500 websites because those people are a pain in the ass. We charge $1,500 and we get better clients?
I think there is something that maybe the more you spend, you have a more rational individual. I don't want to be insulting to people who buy like the lower tier things, but I think the idea is you get people who buy low and they go, hey, why doesn't your product like do this really niche thing that only I need and has never been heard of anywhere else? And I spent $29. And then you get somebody who spends, $199 and they go, hey, does your product do this really niche thing that no one else does? And we're like, yeah, no one else has ever asked for that. And it would be really hard to support. And they're like, yeah, I get it.
Reasonable.
They will spend money then to buy to pay a developer to do that custom thing that they want because they're more rational and logical and understand, yeah, I can't expect this generic product that has to fit everybody's need to fit my very specific custom thing. And so I think there is something about, a better quality of customer perhaps.
And so WordPress never went through the Apple App Store type of everybody race to the bottom type of thing, where it was like, all these games from the fart apps all the way to to like very basic type games or even really crazy games are free or they're $1. But then you have you have Super Mario Run comes out and it's like $7 or $8 or whatever it is, and everybody freaks out and goes like, what the heck? What's going on here? And and they're coming in saying like, well, we've never built one of these games before. We think our thing's worth this much, and just essentially disrupted the entire thing. You go through any of these plugins that I go and purchase as a single site purchase, you're paying anywhere from $25 to $75 per plugin. And so when I go to my meetup and I start pitching to them, hey, here's all the different plugins that I'm using to kind of get to this end result. You have this one guy who essentially pulls out a calculator and starts adding it up. And he goes, so you're telling me that website costs about $300 to build? And I was like, no, it's about $5,000 to build, because the $300 was the plugins, and the $5,000 is me and my experience being able to put this stuff together. That's which gets back to what you were just saying, James, and that I would probably never go and hit up one of these developers unless I find this like ridiculously obscure bug. And I even tell my wife this. I'm like, hey, I sent an email to this developer and he just got back to me really quick, and he already pushed out a patch. And she's like, you send emails to those people? And I'm like, yeah, of course. Because those people are just like me, because when I have a plugin in the repo, they're going to go and send me an email saying, hey, your plugin's messed up. Can you fix it? Or, hey, here's a patch. I fixed it for you.
Yeah.
So,
we love those people, by the way.
Right? Free development work, no problem.
I don't see very many of them, but we love them.
But the whole race to the bottom thing is huge, because WordPress didn't have to go through a race to the bottom thing. Enough of those folks that are using WordPress and its ecosystem to kind of make sure everything works are accustomed to paying for something, or they're okay with having a plugin that doesn't work, and then they go into the repo and they just like bitch and complain about stuff in the support, and then they wonder why the support people aren't replying back to them, because their questions are structured funky, or they don't know what they're actually asking.
Yeah, it's tough. And I think in the WordPress space, you do get a little, I think everybody who comes into the WordPress space for the first time starts that race to the bottom, and then they realize very quickly that was a mistake. Hopefully, and generally speaking, because other businesses come around them and say, hey,
can you stop doing that?
Price is a terrible way to differentiate your product. Even if you're not in my space, you should know that, right? Yeah. You should know that that's not like add value. Don't undercut your price and devalue yourself.
Totally.
Right. But speaking of, one more thing I want to talk about for tool tip of the week. What is your position on discounting?
Oh, I hate discounts. I loathe discounts, and let me tell you why. Now let me say this: there is a time and a place to do discounts, and they can be done right. Not all discounts are bad, but I am not a fan of the seasonal every season discount, and Flag Day we're 20% off, and Groundhog Day we're 30% off, and some obscure holiday I've never heard of we're 15% off. Or I'm not into that, because you can do that fine if that's just you know that you've already built your pricing in such a way that those discounts really are your price, right? That's the price you need. But, you know, I'm in Cleveland. We have a Hobby Lobby. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Hobby Lobby, right? Hobby Lobby is terribly overpriced. Everything in their store is overpriced. And every other week, half the store is 40% off. And so there's a couple of things that happen. The psychology of that happens, right? If you go there and you're wanting to buy, say, home decor, and you're looking for stuff, and you decide you want something, but it's not on sale, you know, if you wait a week, it'll be on sale. And so you just leave and you come back and you buy it when it's on sale. There are some reasons to do that. Hobby Lobby does not do that well from my experience. But what you do is you train customers to wait and not to purchase in the moment. And I just don't love setting that precedent. It also says this, right? Obviously, all your prices are marked up by 40%. If you can afford every other week to discount your product by 40%, then those are not real prices.
We are understanding a pattern here.
Right? And to me, that sends a very bad message to a customer that says, you can't really trust us to tell you the truth because we're going to create this false sense of discounting. And not everybody who does discounts is doing this, but it's a dangerous and a slippery slope. And you have to be mindful. What it means is, discounts should be strategic. You should understand why you're doing the discount and what is the story you're telling your customer when you give that discount, because it is telling a story about you and your brand and what you stand for. And that's totally fine as long as you understand what that story is. I personally don't generally do a lot of discounts. I can't think of I think one time we did a Independence Day sale, but we made a whole big thing about it because we had one guy who we made dress up in a manatee costume, and we had him pretend to lock us all out of the office and reset all of the prices, and like we did a whole big shtick around it.
I saw that. It was a video, right?
Yeah, we did a video, and it was just
it Kenny?
It was Kenny.
Yeah.
It was just a bunch of absurdity and fun. And that was why we did the discount, was to have fun. That was the only purpose behind it. And it was fine. But you just have to be mindful. Again, I think it really comes down to, is there a reason? What is the story you're telling the customer by giving that discount? And if you can justify that story and that story makes sense, and you know that story will make sense to your customer, go for it.
But even in behaviorism, being rewarded randomly works better than pattern.
Sure.
So now it's the time for the tool or tip of the week. This is our favorite little part where we talk about whatever it is that we've found helpful for whatever reason. That doesn't have to be new. But like I said earlier in the show, I'm a fast nickel beats a slow dime. So I've experimented a lot with my pricing. When I originally started, my prices were ridiculous. And then I did some job costing on myself and found I was making minimum wage. But for extra things that are on my secret menu, I realized when I was reading tweets, people didn't write their bios. Oh, I hate writing my speaker bio. I hate writing by myself. Then I'm like, I'll do it for $25 fast pay cash. I had like 8 that night. I think I've done about 50 of them. And then I raised my price after May 31st to 50, and I'm still getting them because people just hate writing about themselves. And so it's hard for me to get, and it's intentionally hard because I don't want just whoever to get monthly retainer clients for social media, but it's not hard for me to get a fast nickel. And so sometimes in your pricing, you can have those things that are flexible. I call it Bridget's secret menu, like in and out, but you're not getting animal fries. You know, like, and it goes with my things. People know how much I love to eat and everything like that. But that was something that was in my late husband's family business, and it worked. In the Depression in the South, the fast nickel beats a slow dime. Sometimes you just have to move product to get rid of it and move on with your other pricing, you know? So
when your product's a service, it makes it even better because you're not having to like support the thing. You just cranked out a stuff. You go, here's my stuff, and then you're like, I'm done. And that's it. There's no support involved in it. There's none of that stuff.
Yeah, because your time matters, you know?
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah. So anyway, that's my tour tip of the week. I can't say Calendly every time. I super love it. Like I say Calendly and FreshBooks way too much on the show.
Well, I'll share my my tool or tip of the week here. So I've been as most of you know, I work at a church, and working at the church, I'm slowly but surely getting this particular church up to speed. I'm actually getting them involved in a lot more higher end technologies and trying to get them, you know, kind of brought up into the modern age. And so one of the things I've been working on is their intranet. Ooh. And so with their intranet, you know, we recently switched them to using Google Drive, Google Docs, all that stuff. But in doing that, I needed to leverage Google for all the stuff. And so one of the things I really wanted to do is make it so that when they go to the intranet site, it actually uses Google to log in. And not only have Google log in, it gets it even crazier, because not only do I want them to log into Google, but once they're logged into that experience, I want them to be able to access their files in Google Drive on the website. So while they're logged into this secured environment, as secure as a website can be, have them logged in and be able to interact with those items that are in there, and also make it so that once they're interacting with them, they can only see the things that they're allowed to see. And so that whole thing was like, how do I pull this off? And I'm a one-man shop, and I don't want to have to spend any extra time building anything that we're going to use once, or scrap it. Just, we're going to scrap this. We're not going to use it. And so I needed something that, like we were talking about earlier, that there was some good support. If things break, I need to be able to call them up and be like, hey, this is broken. Can you fix it? Right. Well, the thing is that there's not a whole lot of companies out there that are doing Google login that's doing it well. That makes it so that Google Drive works and makes it so all these things kind of work. And so I found a company called Glogin, WP-Glogin.com. And what these guys do, it's not cheap, but what these guys do is make it so that you can actually log into your WordPress site. And you can do a free single license of it. It's like $29 for one website. If you only got like less than 10 people to be able to log in, it works great. But you can get all the way up into like 2 to 3 websites. And then have, you know, depending on how many users are actually logging in, you could spend anywhere from $299 all the way up to $1,000 for this plugin. So yeah, it gets spendy fast, but what's nice about it is it works. Yeah. Not only does it work, but it works really well, and it works with Google Docs, which was the biggest piece that I needed for it.
I love that. That was some good strategic thinking, my friend.
Yeah, I mean, we you know, to get even nerdier, we use Active Directory at my work, and I was leveraging Active Directory to have them log in, and which means that, you know, like when you go to log into your computer, that your computer is connecting to a server to be able to figure out what files you have access to. And to take that and expose it to the internet and be like, hey, so you can connect to our server. I'm like, nope, I don't want to do that. So we ended up ditching that whole idea and going with Google. And I know there's other ones out there. There's Auth0, and there's all these other companies that do this stuff, but none of them do the Google Drive integration that I really needed. So
that's awesome.
That's a pretty awesome tool. I like it.
Yep.
All right. I got a good one for you, I think. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. Have you ever heard of a tool called Missing Letter?
No.
Oh.
Okay. So let me tell you the problem.
I missed a ton of them.
You write content, and this content needs to have a life beyond the article that you write. So what ends up happening is you write this content, and maybe you send out a tweet, like because you have a plugin on your site that just sends that tweet automatically. And then you have to go into some tool like Buffer, or maybe you use Edgar and you're pulling in an RSS feed. But then those tweets are always the same tweet over and over again, repeated.
If so they do it wrong.
And that's everyone. So now that we've established that, so what Missing Letter does is it gives you an employee that will tweet out. Now it doesn't actually do this, but it's like hiring an employee for like $15 a month. And this employee will take your blog content. It will read all of it. It will extract all of the images. It will create quote boxes and snippets of text from titles and quotes from within the article. And it will create a campaign for anywhere from a year to 2 years if you want, dripping it out 4 first day, third day, 7 days, 60 days, 90 days, 270 days. And all you have to do is go through and approve it and say, hey, on this day, on 3 days later, I want to send this snippet to Twitter and this snippet to Facebook. And it will first generate it for you, but then you can fine tune it and tweak it to dial it in just the way you want. It takes maybe 10 minutes.
Terrible tip. Why are you saying this?
It takes 10 minutes. And you have automated this process of sharing your content since we have started using it on Ninja Forms.
I thought we were friends. Is it MISSINGLATTR.com?
It's actually it's missing a letter.
Yeah. Okay, I just want to tweet out the right thing.
It's
I
missing
cannot
the
believe
E.
this.
It's missing the E. I know this is terrible.
So
I'm the worst.
You are killing me.
I'm the worst guest. I'm the worst guest in the world.
Slowly.
Bridget, do you know any really cheap
so here's the thing.
solutions
I need a new niche.
Wait, no. But here's the thing, right? Like this is the beautiful. This is the beautiful thing.
I do, James.
I know, no. But listen to this. Hear me out. You're not letting me finish, right? Not everybody can afford to hire somebody to do this. And this is not the best way to do this. This is a way to do this when you need to just get started. No, eventually, right, you want a person who is actually going to handcraft and think through that process. But most of us don't have the time or the resources or the money to hire that stuff. And you charge way too much. Right. And you only have a retainer spot open for how many people? 2. See? So come on. What,
more Bridgets.
I'm just giving you a hard time, James, because I enjoy it.
I'm saying for everybody but the 2 people who can actually hire Bridget, here's a solution for you. Here is a solution for you. Bridget, you can use this tool for your 2 clients and you will speed up your time.
Oh my God, it's total blasphemy. I love it. This is such a fun show.
So missing letter is the WordPress.com of Bridget.
That's right. It is automated Bridget.
Automated Bridget.
Here, so the funny thing is, Bridget, you said in the beginning of the episode that you loved me and I was your favorite, so I had to balance it. It felt too slanted on one side.
Yeah, but it's like when I talked to Jen Miller, the only thing we really disagree about is the Oxford comma. Otherwise, we're too nice to each other.
It's funny. It was a tool that I discovered when I was having. Here's the struggle I have from a content person, right? You write a piece of content and the last thing you want to do is think about 10, 12 tweets that you could write about that content. You already wrote the content, and Missing Letter just kind of takes your content and says, hey, why don't you tweet this about it? Why don't you tweet this about it? Here's a quote box for an image. Here's an image from your thing. Put them together and send them out. So every tweet is different. Nothing is repeated. It's just, it's fresh. And honestly, for us, like we started using it and our content gets shared like crazy now. Because we're putting out.
Kenny was stepping it up.
That's right. Yes.
I'm just giving you a hard time. No, seriously, I didn't know that you didn't have a person.
No. Well, here's the thing. We did, but I needed them to do other things. I needed more content to be written.
Resources issue.
It really came down to a people thing. And so what I started looking at is I'm like, okay, so John and Quay are our 2 writers, right? And they're writing content and they're creating graphics for content. But I was like, I need somebody to like. It's great that you wrote it, but I don't want it to be written and die. Like it has to be shared. It has to be thrive beyond the writing and the publishing. And so I started this journey of, well, what if I could automate this? And then I found this tool and I was like, oh, this will work for the time being. And then it's people resources to do other things. Right. And now I can take that same resource, the same people resource, and put them on something else that is equally important. And it looks like we have a staff that's doing like a ton of work. Like that actually is funny because somebody actually said that to us. They're like, dude, you guys are like, have really ramped it up because we've been writing like 2 or 3 posts a week on Ninja Forums. And then we're sending out like, I don't know, like 12 to 18 tweets a week and Facebook posts. Like, what are you guys doing over there? I'm like, automation. It's all automated.
Wow. That's maybe the only automation I would ever because I've seen your account. I pay attention to it because I thought, oh, John's doing a really good job.
Yep.
Kenny, I make a joke for because I know he's like the big personal public person.
Yeah, we use him as we called him our unofficial mascot for the longest time.
But yeah, that's a really good solution for a lot of small businesses, because
it is.
What's worse than having it's better to not have an account.
Right.
than one that tweeted 3 years ago.
Right. Exactly.
I totally agree.
Because
so if you're
a one person,
if you're a one person shop, this could be the secret that can revive your social presence when you don't have the money or the people resources. And that's why I recommend it to your listeners, because I have a feeling you have a few out there.
The key is you still have to be writing and publishing content.
Absolutely.
Or the automation is going to have nothing to pull from.
Yeah, that missing letter is useless if you don't have an RSS feed that has fresh content. It doesn't work if you have
a missing blog, right?
That's right, exactly.
Okay. So, like, just for the clarity's sake, like, you can't just turn that on. You're not going to get water from a stone, okay? That's a little Bible joke.
Although you said ideas for the new developers out there. There's the idea. How do you create a thriving social media profile with no blog, no content, no nothing?
With a one-page brochure website.
Well, there's a lot of people out there that are doing just that.
Lorem ipsum. They're gonna put bacon ipsum in an RSS feed. They're gonna you know that plugin that like puts like sample blog posts in there.
Right.
They're gonna write those generically and then throw them on their thing and let them just go. Bloop, 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 bloop.
I love it because yeah.
That would be funny actually as a parody of why. Jason, we should do that as a reason why you shouldn't automate. You could help me make that happen.
I can totally make that happen.
As a joke.
I can totally make that happen.
Bridgetable.com.
Exactly. James, I want to say thank you very much for coming and hanging out with us. We really, really appreciate it. I know time zones are different and things are funky, but it's really cool that you took some time out to come hang out with us, and we really appreciate it. I want to say thank you all for that are watching and listening. I really appreciate that as well. If you want to figure out how to subscribe to this content as your first time listening to it or watching it or something like that, you can go over to our website at WPwatercooler.com/subscribe. You can learn where you can subscribe to all those places. Like Bridget said earlier in the show, we're on like all sorts of funky stuff. If you're listening to music on something, we can probably listen to this particular podcast on that thing as well. So go take a look at that. We really appreciate that. Lastly, if you're interested in getting involved in WP Watercooler, we always have seats available over at WP Watercooler. We have 2 seats available right now on our show. So just go over to WPwatercooler.com, go find that particular link, and then click on the little link there saying that you're interested in getting involved. We would get you signed up. Thank you very much. Bridget, you got any final words of wisdom?
Yeah, do something. Publish. Start.
And then miss a letter and then and have it posted out there on the social medias.
Seriously. I mean, I want our friends to market. Do something.
That's why we started this whole show, is to get our friends to start marketing their stuff. Awesome. Well, thank you very much. Talk to y'all later. Bye-bye.
Bye.